महाभारत केवल एक कथा नहीं है, ये हमारी संस्कृति, हमारे धर्म की आत्मा है।
एक कथा पुरानी।
इस महान ग्रंथ, इस महाकाव्य को आप तक पहुंचाने के लिए हमने इस पर अथक परिश्रम किया है।
शंख बजे, रण सजे।
और हम लेकर आ रहे हैं महाभारत पर एक वर्ल्ड क्लास एनिमेटेड सीरीज।
ये है महाभारत।
हम चाहते हैं कि ये प्रस्तुति हर किसी के लिए पूर्ण रूप से निःशुल्क रहे, और इसके लिए हम हर सीजन के लिए क्राउड फंडिंग कर रहे हैं। आप सब इस क्राउड फंडिंग कैंपेन में अपना योगदान करिए और इस संकल्प को साकार करने में हमारी सहायता करिए। हमारा आपसे निवेदन है कि आप अपने परिवार और मित्रों के साथ इस क्राउड फंडिंग कैंपेन से अवश्य जुड़ें और अधिक से अधिक लोगों के साथ इसे साझा करें, ताकि महर्षि वेद व्यास का, भगवान कृष्ण का दिया हुआ उपदेश और महाभारत का संदेश हर घर तक पहुंचे और हमारे धर्म और संस्कृति की पुनः संस्थापना हो। धन्यवाद। Namaskar. Welcome to Unfiltered with Life. And before we start, a small request to all of you viewers who are watching this from across the globe. Prachyam is your own OTT platform. It's the first Bharatiya Sanatani OTT platform in the world. It has more than 500 films, all on Bharatiya Sanskriti, our glorious history, our pristine traditions, and our great knowledge systems. So log on to prachyam.com and subscribe to Prachyam OTT. Download the apps, do watch it, and share it with your friends and families. A very important topic of discussion today. Today we are going to talk about Pranic food. Food has always held a very special place in Indian civilization. It was never seen as just a source of calories or a combination of nutrients, but as something that nourishes the body, mind, and consciousness. Our traditional kitchens were built around fresh ingredients, seasonal eating, mindful preparations, amazing spices, and a deep respect for nature. The Indian tradition speaks about food through the idea of prana, the vital energy, the vital life force that influences our physical strength, mental clarity, and overall. The concept of a pranic kitchen reminds us that food is not just about what we consume, but also about how it is grown, how it is prepared, and received. Today on Prachyam, we have a very special guest. She is founder of Annapurna Holistic Nutrition. And we are together going to explore the connection between ancient Indian food wisdom and modern nutrition. I welcome Shobha Swamy on my show tonight. Shobha is certified in plant-based nutrition from Cornell University and works towards promoting healthier, conscious, and sustainable food choices. Namaste, Shobha. Welcome to Unfiltered with Prachyam Live.
Namaste. It's my honor to be here.
Pleasure is ours, Shobhaji. Thank you for sparing time to be a part of the show. I had been thinking about doing something on the food, and I thought, who can be better than you?
Thank you. I'm
So,
honored.
Shobhaji, food in Indian tradition has always been considered more than just physical nourishment. So, can you just elaborate? What was the concept around this? The idea of food as a sacred element, which differs from the modern understanding of food as simply calories and nutrients.
Absolutely. Food for us is not only has the prana shakti in it, it nourishes not just the body, but the mind as well. And that is something that only our ancient culture addresses so beautifully. And the Bhagavad Gita tells us that food nourishes our body, our mind, and Bhagavan, our Ishvara, is in the form of food. Just like we have no control over the digestive fire in our bodies, the Jatar Agni that we have, and that also is Bhagavan's hands in how the food gets digested. And the food, what we eat, we become. In the West as well, that's exactly what they follow. So we have to have carefully picked choice of foods that nourish both our body and our mind. And the way it is prepared, the way it's cultivated, the way it is brought to the kitchen is also a very important part of the entire process, and the mindset that we use through the whole entire cooking process. They are not just a collection of calories or macros or micros. They really are fuel in our bodies, and this fuel we call prana shakti.
How wonderful. And how is different, you see, today the nutrition sciences, they focus on proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, and minerals. So where does the
Yes.
concept of pran fit into this scientific understanding of nutrition?
The body doesn't look at it in that way. All other species in nature consume food. They already come in pre-programmed as to what foods are best for their bodies. So you will not see herbivorous animals eating any form of meat, even if it's rightly available for them right in front of them. Similarly, for us as well as humans, we when we lived in nature, we were conditioned to eat fresh, natural, as grown in nature. Only what Mother Earth produced. Those were the foods that we are designed to be consuming. Our system, our teeth structure, all of this. So how body looks as food is not in these pockets of carbs, fats, proteins, and all the micronutrients. It doesn't look at it that way. It looks at it in the whole form. That's why we focus on eating whole foods as grown in nature, as closest to nature as possible, which means minimally processed.
Wonderful. Shobhaji, there is some, technical error, you're coming broken on the show. Can you please check, your internet connection and just ensure that the other devices are not on the internet?
Okay, just a second. Yeah, let me do that.
Yeah. Viewers, we are just taking a short break before, we fix the technical problem which is coming. This is the problem. Usually it comes, when we are, a world apart from each other. She's in US, on the other part of the globe, and we are in India. And there's some technical problem. I think we are going to fix it very soon. Shobhani, can you check your internet speed if it is fine?
Yeah, let me check. He is requesting that we go off, all the devices go off of the Wi-Fi.
काल के प्रवाह में एक समय ऐसा भी आया जब अधर्म ने धर्म को ललकारा, जब प्रतिज्ञाएं वज्र बनी और परिस्थितियों ने युद्ध का रूप ले लिया।
अंधकार में जला प्रकाश, धर्म लिखेगा युगों का इतिहास।
ये सनातन सत्य का उद्घोष है।
बजे रण सजे, वीरों का लहू बोले।
ये है महाभारत।
Coming out broken.
Welcome back now. Can you just do a quick sound check, Shobha?
Mic check? Yeah. Can I say something? Yeah. Is it coming out okay now, or is it still broken?
Oh, there's slight lag actually.
Uh-huh.
Your internet speed is fine?
Yeah, internet speed is fine. Can you're checking, no?
Yeah. Okay. How does it look? Shall we start? Okay, we start now.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, it's a 158.
Okay, so we can start now. Sure. So we start, Shobhaji, I'm going to come back to you, on the last question. And I was saying that, today the nutrition science focuses on proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals. So where does the concept of pran fit into this scientific understanding of nutrition? Because it's so important. Pran is actually the life force which sustains us, as you rightly said. So can you please elaborate on this?
So as we were discussing, foods that are grown should be consumed. When we used to consume it in the past, ancient cultures used to be readily accessible. It used to be not traveling hours or days or weeks or sometimes even on across the ocean. So food as grown is what is the best type of food. And because we live in big cities and because we live in these big, huge metropolis, our food comes to us through refrigerated vans and refrigerated produce trucks, and they have to be transported long distances. So, taking all this modern life and lifestyle and living into consideration, we do the best that we can under the circumstances. Of course, the best is to grow your own food and consume local, consume fresh, and the best thing is to get our hands dirty, and even in pots you can grow. I have a friend who's grown food in Mumbai, terrace gardening and in little pots. So similarly, people can cultivate that habit, and if we grow a culture of growing your own food, that would be the best. Of course, that would be choice number one. But barring that, what can we do? In the current day and age, with our fast paced lifestyle, with all of us working, heading out of the house, what can we do? So we rely on foods that are provided for us. But in the Bhagavad Gita, as well as in our Shastras, prana, or the food that is live, has to be consumed once cooked within 3 to 4 hours. That is the general rule. But again, in today's life, fast-paced life, we have refrigeration, we have microwaves, and we have all these other forms of cooking as well. We don't cook as we used to with with wood and earthen pots that we replace every year, and so on and so forth. So we do the best under the circumstances, and we focus on eating fresh, live foods that have prana and that provide a pranic healing for us. And as I mentioned, both mind and body, it feeds the mind and body. So as you're cooking, as you're making foods too, have thoughts in your mind that are, spiritual, that provide, that infuse the food with, you know, the blessings, with being prayerful, with working to we have a prasada buddhi. This is the whole method in which we used to cook and infuse this prana into the foods that we eat.
Oh, that's very well explained. So, just coming back, you said that because of the modern lifestyle, now the food, people are not able to eat fresh food, or they don't, usually grow their own food. What happens to the food if it is, say, kept, for a particular period of time, or whether it is, preserved, for some time with preservatives, it is, canned, or
Mhm,
it is packaged, what
mhm,
exactly, what difference is there between, something which is fresh that you eat, and something
mhm,
which is canned, or which has been, and this is very, very rampant all over the world now.
mhm. Yes.
People eat a lot of packaged food, canned food,
Mhm,
and which has got all the preservatives. So, what would you call that? Is it like, devoid of any prana? Is it devoid
mhm,
of the life force? So,
mhm.
how would you explain that?
Very much so, very much so. And most of those foods are called processed foods in our terminology. And now we have a new terminology called ultra processed foods. So if processing isn't enough, we ultra process the foods. So those foods are just food like substances. And as you correctly mentioned, they're devoid of prana. So traditionally, and to nourish our bodies and fuel our health, the foods that you should be really consuming that are good for us is foods as grown in nature by Mother Earth. And as closest to nature we eat, minimally or unprocessed is the best way. Anything that has gone through a long processing uh, uh, period is really devoid of lot of the nutrients, and definitely devoid of prana for sure. So as we know, grains and pulses and dals and all our beans are stored for long periods of time. So they are harvested dry, and those are fine. But all the other vegetables and fruits that have nutrients, and in the modern age, science has caught up so much with food science that we are now aware of the number of nutrients, phytonutrients, and all the nutrients that are packed in fresh food. So, barring the fact that we don't get to eat fresh food every day, the new modern gadgets now help us plan a little bit ahead of time so we can eat fresh as well. So, definitely effort needs to be put in, and there's some amount of pre planning required so you can eat fresh foods. And like I mentioned, foods that are cooked should be really consumed within half a day, 4 to 5 hours, and maximum probably within the same day. But in many cases, in most household, a majority of the households, I know that that's a tall order, and it's a big pressure on the family to be eating this way. So we can make some adjustments to it, but focus on eating fresh, focus on using the current day gadgets to make fresh food and consume as fresh as possible, as close to nature as possible.
Amazing. So, if I have to understand this correctly, uh, there are two categories broadly we can say. One is the pranic food, which is fresh, grown fresh, eaten fresh, cooked fresh, not refrigerated and all. And the other one, which is packaged. If I have
Mhm.
to ask you, what effect does, the processed or the packaged food, has on our mind, body, consciousness? What different effect, it has?
Definitely. It has a huge effect. First and foremost, what we can see. broadly all across the globe is our global health. Our global health outcomes for humans has been really at a precipice in terms of chronic diseases, metabolic illnesses, and lifestyle conditions. They are rampant even for children, teenagers, and young adults as well are facing several of these problems, autoimmune issues, and as you know, the number one leading cause of death in the world is heart disease, and both India and USA, it's very rampant. You hear it, very often among your friends and family itself. Diabetes is very common across, and also cancer. The number second leading cause of death across the world is cancer, and 500,000 die just in the United States of cancer every year. So these are all lifestyle diseases that we can take a lot of precautions and follow a preventative view of life and living. Food, of which is very important and covers probably 70 to 75% of health outcomes. But along with that is lifestyle as well. Our mental health, our sleep, our physical movement and activity, and relationships and spirituality that we nurture, and the habits that we develop, the dinacharya that we develop, and the discipline that we follow on a daily basis. Very, very important to combat some of the health issues that we're all facing as a human race across the globe.
True, absolutely true. The Upanishads that speak about the deep connection between food, life, and consciousness. Can you just a little bit touch upon, how does the concept of Anna Brahma that we have
Mhm.
help us understand our relationship with what we eat?
Mhm. So, Annam, as you already know, in our culture is sacred, and the grains of rice are so sacred. We use them in our puja, we use them for marriages, for special occasions, and all of that. It is a symbol of the entire gamut of food that we consume, as well as auspicious for us. For us, food is sacred and it's auspicious. So the view when we consume food should also be the same. And when we prepare food should also be the same. So it's absorbed in our body. It's not just a mechanical process of absorbing the nutrients and breakdown of the nutrients as we have had with science, but there is a lot of subtle forces that are working inside our body, including the digestive fire that we talked about. The that digests all of our food is an involuntary process. So we consider this entire process of assimilation of food becoming, a life force within us as an act of Bhagavan, as that which we have received as a prasada. The food that we received in nature and the food that we consume is also nourishes not only our body, but like you said, our consciousness. So it makes us who we are, both mental, emotional, and physical, all aspects of this. And that's the focus that we really need to bring back in our lifestyle as well. Observe our entire day, watch what we are doing, how we interact, how we consider food, and under what circumstances we consider as we eat. We shouldn't be really watching our um, uh, phones or watching videos, or even TV dinners became very popular in the United States from the 60s now. And that's now taken on all over the world. So really, we should really not be talking or talk pleasant, calm, cool, soothing words. And that's what should be the environment around food as we consume the food as well.
Awesome. So it's very important. First of all, the food should be fresh. It should be, prepared properly, and in fact, it has been recommended in our tradition that you should be chanting some mantras, or you should be praying within, when you're cooking food. I think all those vibrations, they go in the food. So
Exactly.
along with the life force, these vibrations, they are going in our system, and accordingly, it is affecting our mind, our consciousness, our body, in every way. Wonderful. So many practices, they emphasized not only on the freshly cooked food, but there was something very, very important. We should also be careful of what kind of food we are eating and when we are eating. The food should be seasonal.
Yes.
And that concept has also, people have forgotten. So I thought,
Yes.
in our conversation, if you can enlighten our audience that how important it is to also choose what food you should eat and when you should eat that.
Absolutely. Very, very, very true. Just yesterday in our home, we had a talk by an Ayurvedic practitioner who came and talked to us about Dinacharya and Ritucharya. And that's exactly what we should be really putting into practice on a daily basis. So the Dinacharya should start in the morning. And the first thing we consume, what do we consume first thing in the morning? All of us consume a cup of coffee or tea. That is the first thing. So she was telling us that we should really start with 1 or 2 glasses minimum of warm water in the morning. Room temperature water. Temperature of the water should be that of similar to, of our body. It shouldn't be very cold right out of the fridge. And so that is the first thing that should nourish our bodies, is with 1 glass of water in the morning, not
Oh,
really
beautiful.
coffee or tea. And that was a really difficult concept for many of them to, even absorb. So we have made all these habits that are, detrimental for our health. And so we need to slowly change that and eat raw foods, either lightly steamed or raw, like in salads, early part of the day, not so much in the latter part of the day. So latter part of the day, that our Jataragni and our digestive fire slows down. So we really need to be consuming small quantities and really helping the body follow the circadian rhythm. And as we go to bed, we should really be following the sun. As you know, all our ancient culture, our wisdom, our practices are all connected with nature, connected with the circadian rhythm, connected to the seasons, connected, all our festivals are connected, hence, to the different seasons. And that brings us to Riturcharya, where we eat seasonal food. So, one way to recognize what is seasonal is what is the cheapest in the market and available in plenty. If fruits and vegetables, like for example, if fruits like guava are available, that's the season that it grows. So we should be aligned with that. We should not really be, for example, consuming watermelon in the winter time. Watermelon is a summer fruit. We know that it grows in the summer. And so we should focus, even though some of the foods now are grown probably in greenhouses and available all through the year, we should really focus on what's available in plenty and focus on those foods, because those are what are seasonal. So eat according to the season, and that will automatically reset a whole bunch of things, because we don't want to give people too many rules to follow, because it all breaks down and then they won't be able to follow even one of them. So simple things: eat raw food early part of the day, drink a glass of water as you start your day, and then eat seasonal, preferably locally grown, which is transported for short periods of time. Those are the foods that you should be really focused on.
How wonderful. You mentioned about drinking warm water in the morning. Uh, well, if you might enlighten, our audience, that what are the benefits of drinking warm water first thing in the morning. And let me tell you, I've been doing that, for the last 35 years. Because,
Mhm.
long time back, a sadhu I met, and he said, what you should do? You
Mhm.
first thing you get up in the morning and you have 3 glasses of warm water. And I started
Mhm.
following it, and I feel
Mhm.
very good, when I do that every morning. And in fact, uh, I feel very uneasy if I'm not able to drink, first thing in the morning, a lot of water. So can you
Mhm.
tell us, what are the benefits of
Mhm.
drinking warm water in the morning?
Absolutely. Absolutely. After we've had, 6 to 8 hours of sleep over the night, there's healing process that takes place, the resting process that takes place, not just of the body, but of the mind as well. And as we awaken the body in the morning, the first thing we do is wash our face with water. And the next thing is consuming water as well. Because a large percentage of our body is made up of water. And water is what hydrates our body, makes all the systems, the circulatory system, the nervous system, the digestive system, all these systems come alive and function in accordance with what our needs are for the day. So, beginning our life, and water as well is a life force, as we all know, that we use water to as a sacred, and we infuse water as we keep a small cup of water near our puja, and we say our prayers and we say our mantras and our chant every morning. It infuses the vibration of Bhagavan and of sacred consciousness, of the universal consciousness. So similarly, water is, when we consume in our bodies, also makes everything alive in our bodies. And now, as you know, modern science has also caught up with all this small processes and discipline that we used to follow from our ancient mothers and grandmothers. Now modern science has caught up with this and asking, in fact, it has, I think, gone too far, where it asks us to drink X amount of water or 8 glasses of water per day. But that's really not as important as listening to your body, observing your body, and then taking small sips of water. I don't think water will be that useful even in the morning if you just gulp it down. So take your time,
Oh,
and you should really be drinking the water slowly, because you don't want to burden your kidneys with a whole lot of water all at once. So take your time in the morning as you drink the water. Like every grain of food nourishes our body, similarly, every sip of water as well. It makes everything flow in our body, makes everything move with movement of our things, like the pancha mahabhutas. So very important, water is a very important part of who we are, what the earth is made up of, and what everything else is made up of. So that is the reason we need to really, focus, observe, and observe how you feel when you gulp down a bottle, a glass of water, whether it's, 1 glass of water or 2 glasses of water, and observe how you would feel when you slowly sip through the water. So throughout the day, you should really be sipping water, not drinking in large quantities as well. And same applies to the early morning process as well. The discipline of that is gets our day started with nourishing our bodies with water.
great. That's what I do, and that's what I'm doing right now. Sipping
Mm-hmm.
water. That's what we are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned about circadian rhythm. Can you please enlighten our audience, what exactly is that and how we have
Mm-hmm.
to, harmonize with it?
Mm-hmm. Our ancients knew this very well. All other species knows this very well. The birds, the animals, everything, they work with the circadian rhythm. So what is a circadian rhythm? Circadian rhythm is the rhythm that we are all tuned to, connected to, with that of nature, with that of the rotation of the earth, with that of the day and night, the process of day and night. So that is what is the circadian rhythm, that our body is already aligned to it. We have created artificial settings of where we use light till late at night. We have electricity all over the house that we can, bring artificial light into our home. So once we understand that these are artificial lights and call them by their right terminology, we will automatically align with the circadian rhythm. So we should be up with the sun, down with the sun. This was what our ancients practiced, our grandmothers did. What did they do way back when we didn't have electricity? Things would shut down as the sun goes down. We would put our minds to probably singing bhajans or chanting the Vishnu Sahasranama or chanting some of the shlokas or Hanuman Chalisa in the evenings, and then slowly calm your body down for ready to go to bed and take rest and regenerate your mind and your body. So the circadian rhythm is a very important thing to follow, and we have, a lot of us have gotten off of it, especially with night shift workers and factory workers and so many other occupations that we all follow these days. But we should really keep it in our consciousness that we should really align with the sun, align with nature, and so up. We should be able to get up as early as possible. But now, children, including many of us, and then we have different um, timings for weekdays versus weekends. And we think in the weekend we can do whatever we want, get up at 8, 9, 10, 12. But the body doesn't work like that. The whole nature doesn't work like that. The birds are up. Do they take a vacation day? They don't take a vacation day. They're foraging for food, taking care of their young ones. They are active as the sun rises every single day, 365 days of the year. So we are also products of nature. So aligning with nature, aligning with up with the sun and down with the sun. This is a simple thing to think of and keep track of throughout our day. And this is what is the significance of the circadian rhythm, which our ancients understood so well.
That's a very, very precious piece of information you just gave, Shobhaji. Uh, it was also important for the people who are listening this to understand that what happens if you don't follow this circadian rhythm. What happens, when you get up late? What happens when you stay awake till late night hours, watching phone or watching your iPad or
TV.
computers, or you have all these lights on, when your body is calling upon you, asking for rest, it needs a break, but you go against, the demand of the body at that time. What happens? What are the after effects of all this?
Mhm. It affects not only the mind, but also the body, physical body. So both are, and emotional health and well-being, our sense of balance, our sense of making sure that we have a balanced mind through the day. So all of these take effect in small micro quantities. So you don't really recognize, because now everybody around us is living like this and working like this. So we're up till late in the night, 11, 12, 1. So this affects our physical health as well as our mental well-being. And the amount of rest that we need to get is really very important. So though that is compromised as well with the advent of artificial lights. So um, we cannot put one thing that it affects our body in this way, but it's a slow process of degeneration. So the most important thing that we should do is make sure that we have time set aside for all these things, and we understand that things happen and once in a way we get out of cycle. But basically we should be cognizant of this idea at the back of our mind, because it is definitely a huge cause of physical health issues. And as you know, youngsters are facing so many autoimmune issues, so many issues with metabolic conditions, and they're all connected to lifestyle. And lifestyle is, or the circadian, not following the circadian rhythm has a very huge part in lifestyle as well. It affects emotional health, our relationships, our output, the work that we produce. All of this it affects, not just our physical health. So really, mental health is a very important and of late has been, compromised in different ways because of the gadgets that we have, because of social media streaming into our homes, streaming into our phones. So we really need to take a look and really have some device free time as well to, calm the mind and calm the body, in order to avail of the strength that we have and the power that we have, in addition to everything else we talked about today. It's really very important that we pay attention to our lifestyle as a whole.
Indeed, very, very important. There is some, lag coming again. Let me just quickly check. Is everything okay here at our end? Our end, it's okay. Is your internet still fine?
Yeah, looks like it's fine.
Okay, there is some lag, which is, I mean, it's coming slightly broken, the audio. Okay, so we go ahead. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. So we talked about something, as you very nicely explained, which is seasonal food. May I also ask you, we had since ancient times these food habits, of taking in food which was regional, what was grown around us, we had all the cuisines around that.
Mhm.
So we ate, regional food, to whichever place we belonged, including even the cooking oil, that we had. You in India, you go to the southern India, and you will find, the cooking medium to be, the coconut oil.
Sesame oil or
A-
coconut oil. Yeah.
yeah, yes, yeah. And in the north, it was like mustard oil or whatever. So how important it is to keep this in mind, that what is grown around. I see, obviously the world has become so small. Now I see when I go to these big shopping malls, I see, this apple has come, from somewhere, in US, or, some fruit has come, from all the way from Australia. Uh, and again, it's not seasonal, it is not regional. Can you elaborate, on the importance of regional food?
Hmm. Absolutely. Like you said, there are fads that go around all over the world. For example, avocado oil has become a big thing. I don't think, avocado oil existed, 20, 30, 40 maybe years ago. There was no such thing as avocado oil. So our traditional customs and traditions in how we prepare food and what foods we eat come from the local areas. And that's very important because the place that we live in, the environment that we live in, and especially the climate that is there, encourages the growth of certain fruits, certain vegetables, and that is the focus. For example, if a whole world is now started to eat avocados, the avocados were available, in a certain geographic area alone, and now you can get avocados year round as well. So we really don't know what their seasonal growth period is. So it's very important that we focus on grains and the produce that we get with regards to grains, the dals and pulses, as well as fruits and vegetables that are native. And now there is a huge push to say, let's go back to native grains. Let's go back to eating millets, for example, in India, that we had lost through our entire process of colonizing and invasions for over 1,000 years. Our food patterns have changed as well. Our view of food has changed as well. So it's very important that we look back at our ancient teachings and our shastras and our culture and traditions and see what were the kinds of foods and grains that people were eating and that nourished the body. So the climate of part, that is the ritucharya, is very, very important because the environment and the climate in which these grains grow is also part of this pranic process of pranic shakti and transfer of the prana to energize us in terms of living our daily life. That is why it's very important that we eat local and focus. Just because something is good for you doesn't really mean that it'll be good for everybody. And also, as we follow some of the principles, I know we don't follow many of the principles of Ayurvedic Shastras and Ayurveda itself, but some things that are really easy to implement and that are beneficial for us, I think it's very key that we follow this discipline on a daily basis in terms of our Prakriti and what aligns with us individually as well. So, at the macro level and at the micro level, both levels, we need to make sure that we're eating, foods that are grown in that environment, in that culture, in that hemispheres as well. So foods grown in India are, for example, I think we should be consuming in India, Bharat, the millets more than, say, for example, oats or something that is, not as actively grown. And now we've, started to cultivate these, what I call international crops. So it's all over. So it's definitely diluted the whole process of eating per region. For example, Middle East used to be the bread basket. South America is very well known for corn, potatoes, and sweet potatoes. There are 50 different types of potatoes and sweet potatoes available in South America. So also, when we have the knowledge of this, as we visit different places, we can focus on what is native to that land and what grows in that native conditions and climate as well. So that's why it's very important that we eat, what is grown locally.
Okay, great. That's a wonderful perspective you've shared. Uh, just coming back quickly, on you mentioned about the importance of drinking water in the morning and then sipping it all your day. Just wanted to ask, how much water should we drink every day?
Yeah, very good question. Your body knows how much water it needs every day. So you really should be observing and be in tune with your body. I can't tell you that, oh, you should be consuming 2 liters of water every day, and then you measure it and say, okay, here's half a liter. I have, X amount of liters to go. That should not be our viewpoint. Our view should be, because some days you feel hotter, some days you sweat more, so you lose large percentage of the water content in your body. So you really must slow down and observe how much your body needs and consume that much water. It could be 1 liter some days, it could be 3 liters some days. So we shouldn't really be going by numbers, because our body knows best. Same thing with food. There are concepts that we should be grazing through the day, eat every 2 hours, for example, for diabetes and others. But that's really not true. We should allow the body to digest the food that we eat. That's why we say, after eating food, don't go take a shower. This is something that's ingrained in all of us, that we shouldn't be taking a shower as soon as you eat. And we tell our children, oh, don't go take a bath just now. You just ate. Give it a couple of hours and then you can go take. And it's the same thing. Why do we do this? Because you're putting out the fire. So this causes a small shift in our digestive process that will accentuate over a period of time. You may not see it that day, that very second, that very week, but this is a habit that you inculcate that will have long term consequences. And that is the reason we should be really, be in tune with our bodies, observe the needs, food, and eat only when you're hungry. Just because it's 8 o'clock, you shouldn't be chugging down your coffee. Or I know we are all programmed to our work hours, but even through our work hours, we should also be connected with, the needs of our body, mental, physical, emotional needs. And that's the most important thing, is to observe and figure out what you need, when you need it, and follow the circadian rhythm again.
Great, wonderful information, great perspective, very enlightening for me too. Learning a lot of things from you, Shobhaji. Now I'm coming back, on the wonderful thing that you explained earlier, but I also want to understand, on behalf of my audience, that you said that whatever we cook should be eaten fresh. So we should avoid refrigeration that is usually done in this, fast-paced life where we cook and we keep it and we think, we can have it, we'll have it tonight or we can have it tomorrow. It's going to save us time. And also reheating, so it's like you cook and then you refrigerate it and then you heat it and then you again eat and then you again refrigerate it. So what I need to ask here is, what happens when you do this, how harmful this is, why this should be avoided by us, how we should get into the practice that if you want to stay healthy, we should observe these little things, very good practices of eating something which is very, very fresh and avoid all this.
We must get into the habit of eating fresh, like we've discussed through this whole podcast. But we must also make it easy on ourselves. So, like all other habits and discipline, this is another habit and discipline that we need to develop. That is the most important thing. If you're living by yourself or living as part of a family, if you are living as part of a family, we need to take the help of family members, and the focus should be on putting in some time and effort towards making fresh food. I know refrigerators have been with us now for more than 70 years. I think 70, 100 years or more. So it's become part of life. Frozen foods, ready to eat foods, packaged foods, processed foods. So all of this, it's easy when you have to run through a pair of scissors, open up a packet and eat, be it potato chips or ready to eat food that is in your refrigerator. But what we can do is plan ahead, think ahead, and have ingredients ready in your refrigerator and in your pantry, that you can really find ways and methods of using the modern gadgets and electrical gadgets to cook fresh food and eat it and consume it within that day. That should be the focus. But we don't want to set boundaries for people that it becomes too hard to follow, then everything goes out the window. So we really need to focus on do your best. Like everything in our culture, in our tradition, are not absolutes. So how much water do we drink? It's not an absolute number. How much food should we drink? Should we eat processed food or not? So the focus should be as far as possible unprocessed, as far as possible fresh. But there are days when you are in a cycle and you're so much your days are filled up, and you plan ahead and make sure that you have food, because hunger is another thing. So that is another whole topic that we need to look into, because ancients used to live between famine and feasting, and our bodies were used to it. That is why sometimes we see our bodies accumulate the fat, because they are thinking, I'm going to save all this fat for when famine comes. But famine never comes. Food is abundant in our refrigerators, in our pantries, at home. We store a lot of food as well, dry food and refrigerated foods. So the focus is eat fresh, make it a habit, take the help of people around you that can help you cut the vegetables, chop the vegetables the night before. As you wind down your day, make sure everything is ready and prepped. When you plan ahead, you plan to succeed. That is the most important thing. So that's what I would say. But we don't want to give people absolute guidelines that this way or that way you shouldn't be doing, this is bad for you and this is good for you. As you know, our culture and shastra is a general everyday discipline and habit forming process that has long term benefits, and you reap the benefits long term. Just like doing yoga every day, we don't see that tomorrow you're going to gain so much, either yogasana or even our the ashtanga yoga that we follow, the yamas and the niyamas and all of this. Everything is a holistic approach. So that is the most important thing that we need to look at, and do your best. There are many things that you can use the modern technology and instruments to cook fresh food, and we should focus. It should be there at the back of our mind for sure.
Absolutely, you're right. We are not sermonizing anyone here. We're just sharing what practices we have had, for thousands of years, from the Ayurvedic perspective, from the traditional, knowledge that we have inherited from our ancestors. And food was something very, very pious and very precious and very important for us. In fact, in any temple you go, food is offered to the deity as a bhog, and we eat it as prasad. We call, food annam brahma. So obviously, it has got a great importance in our culture, in our civilization. I was just thinking that here in our Indian philosophy, everything is categorized, into Sattvik, Rajasic, and Tamasic. Is that same? It goes with the food also.
It's a lifestyle as well, the Sattvik, Rajasic, and Tamasic, and it applies to food to a certain extent. There are foods that promote a Sattvik lifestyle, and the focus here is not what we should do and what we shouldn't do, but the focus here is how do we live a more Sattvik lifestyle and why? That's the most important. When we understand the why, then it stays with us. So, Sattvik demeanor, lifestyle, and Sattvik food aligns us better to receive the knowledge. And what is this knowledge? This knowledge is of the self, of the Jivatma, how we live our lives with respect to the Jagat, the entire universe, and how we relate and understand Bhagavan or Ishvara, who has provided this entire Jagat for us. It is a manifestation of Bhagavan itself. So, as a result, we really need to live our lives holistically, looking at all these aspects, not just of food. So, because food is an important aspect, and we have learned through our Ayurvedic principles that certain foods promote a Sattvik life, but that is not just, should not be taken literally, because there are lots of people who probably don't eat this way. The Sattvik foods, that so-called Sattvik foods that we have termed them as, but are still reverential, they are still contemplative, that are still understand this concept of our concept of Bhagavan, of Ishvara, of that which is provided for us. That is why this prasad buddhi is equally important, because we look upon everything in the world as prasada. Even if, for example, we term onions, garlic, and that entire family as not Sattvik, for example, but they also have medicinal properties. So sometimes your Ayurvedic practitioner will prescribe these for you. So it is not an absolute again, and we need to live our lives in a Sattvik lifestyle. Moreover, in addition to the Sattvik foods, just eating Sattvik foods doesn't make you, a Sattvik person. So cultivating the habit of living a Sattvik lifestyle, where, like I mentioned, we understand who we are, our purpose here on this earth, the purpose of the Jivatma, and how it relates to the Jagat and the universe as a whole, and all the people that we interact with, and then the Ishvara, or who has provided everything for us, that Bhagavan that has made, food possible, that has made the entire living and our mental, physical, and emotional well-being possible, that we revere, and we accept it as prasad. Just like you would not question a prasad that you receive. If you receive, one piece of raisin or one small fruit, you don't ask the person who's giving you the prasad, oh, is it only this much? Can I have more? This? And you don't question it. You accept it graciously, and look upon things as a prasada buddhi. So even in our lives, we have to adopt a Sattvik lifestyle more so than just focusing on the food. Though it has been really applied specifically to food, I think we should be really focused more on a Sattvik lifestyle, I will say.
Absolutely, so very true. A sattvic, holistic lifestyle is very, very important.
Mhm.
Amazing. Shobhaji, India has traditionally, had a
Mhm.
largely plant-centric food culture with diverse grains, lentils, vegetables, spices. So, how does the modern nutritional science view this traditional approach?
Um, there are many modalities of promoting health and well-being in the ancient Indian system itself, in addition to Ayurveda. So the naturopathy, Siddha medicine, so many other different forms of medicines are there. Um, I think now the medical science in the West has caught up to many of our ancient wisdom and ancient culture and ancient habits. We have now the backing of science with all the research that has been done. So here now we are promoting, especially myself, we are promoting what is called whole food plant-based nutrition. That is a concept that has been in under research for more than 100 or 150 years or even longer. But you know that ancient traditions all across the globe, not just the blue zones that we talk about, that everybody is familiar with, but ancient traditions used to predominantly eat plant based because our ability as humans to hunt and then eat prey was, is very minimal and very limited, because without tools we are not as fast and quick as these animals, our eyesight doesn't go as far, so many factors are there for that. So eating more whole food plant based as Bhagavan has provided, not man-made that is coming from factories. This should be our focus. And the Western science now, medical science, evidence-based science, research-based science has definitely caught up to it. And there is a body of doctors here in the United States called the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and they promote this lifestyle benefits of all these pillars of living that we mentioned, mental health, physical health, our relationships, our emotional well-being, as well as sleep, an important part of it. So all of that is taken into account, and now Western science and Western medical systems are catching up to this, where for a large extent it was, stamped out, looking at all other modalities of medicine. So this is a very interesting phase we are in now, and it's very promising as well that people have realized that going back to nature, going back to whole foods as grown, as uh, Dharti Mata has provided, and Bhagavan produced food versus, factory made foods that stay for long periods of time. That should be our takeaway. That should be our focus. And we are very glad that science has also caught up to it. So what we already knew has been, reinforced by science and all the scientific findings now.
Shobhaji, we all have been witnessing this, that lifestyle diseases, like diabetes, you mentioned about heart
Mhm.
diseases, obesity, they all are really increasing globally. They're rising. So, how much of this health crisis can be connected to the food habits?
Yeah, very, very good question, Praveenji. The 75 to 80% of health outcomes, which I call, what we are going through, metabolic illnesses like diabetes, heart disease. Heart disease, diabetes is a slow progressing disease that you can probably, hopefully, if you get tested, you get detected. But sometimes with heart disease, 33% of all deaths due to heart attack, the only symptom is death. And the first symptom is death. So preventively, what we can do, how we can nourish our bodies, our mind, and our entire holistic approach is very, very important. And food plays a huge role. 75 to 80% of what we eat and what goes through our lips is definitely uh, responsible for the health outcomes that we are seeing today. Young people, young girls are facing PCOD, PCOS, and so many other illnesses, autoimmune illnesses, skin issues, eczema, vitiligo, so many different, asthma, for example. My husband has been an asthmatic since he was a young boy back home in India. And since he was 6, 7 years old, and his father used to take him in the middle of the night for adrenaline shots to the hospital. That bad his asthma was. And as we got married and he became an adult as well, that continued. There was exercise induced asthma, there was asthma induced by the environment, all kinds of things. But when we switched to this way of eating and this way of living and this way of holistic lifestyle and focusing on whole food, plant based nutrition, we found that his asthma has absolutely vanished. He doesn't even know where his inhaler is. He doesn't carry it like he used to. We used to have an inhaler in the car or at all times and in a bag that I used to carry when I went out. So now that is absolutely been removed from his life. And he was just mentioning this couple of days ago as we were talking about this podcast that he has no exercise induced asthma. He plays a lot of tennis and he's very active. And so this has changed our life around. And when you see small gains like this, it really encourages us, motivates us to keep eating whole foods. Like I mentioned, the mantra that we should repeat in our minds, Bhagavan made, not man made. This is a simple rule of thumb that we can follow, and your lives will really turn around. And nutrition and food is the first step, and all the other lifestyle conditions that you can follow will really definitely help. A habit forming, a good discipline, a small amount of meditation and pranayama. These are all three things that you can keep an eye on is the food and something for your mental health and something for good everyday habits. If you keep track of these three and observe your body, you will come out really ahead.
How wonderful. The golden mantra of Ayurveda, they say, is let food be your medicine
Mhm,
and medicine be your food.
mhm.
So, having said that, we always believed, that the biggest aushadhalaya in our house was actually kitchen. We
Yes.
had all type of, spices there, and we all, can recall and remember that, for small things, happening to us, our mothers or grandmothers used to prepare something, from the kitchen itself, may it be turmeric or ginger or
Yes.
cumin or coriander or anything of that sort, So, can you please elaborate, the importance of, these wonderful spices, which were like herbs in
Mhm.
our Indian kitchen, and how we can use it to the best of our advantage to our health?
Absolutely. Our grandmothers knew best. Like our tradition, which is an oral Guru Shishya Parampara tradition and an oral tradition, knowledge of this kind was passed on from generation to generation, which we lost through the process of, invasions and colonizing and modern, medicine and all of these things. But most importantly, our grandmothers knew if we had a cold, we wouldn't run to the doctor. We would just ask grandma, and she would make, in the south, we, as you all know, we make a lot of different types of rasam. And so there is, different types of kandatipili rasam, for example, and so many other herbs in our spice box, in our masala dabba, were herbs and were all these jari booty, as we call it, that we could use to make a small concoction. Maybe what we modern day we call it tea. So just infuse some water with it. We had, methi seeds. We have ajwain. And this is all that is left of our, modern day living and the progress that we have made through medical science and others have stamped out some of these ancient practices and methodologies, I should say. For example, ginger that we use, the turmeric that we use. Now, turmeric has become a phenomenon where they have started putting it in capsules. But that's not how the body absorbs it. The body absorbs it in its whole form, grown as turmeric, consumed in small quantities every single day. And we used to pair our foods as well. So the pairing of these foods also makes it bioavailable for us. And like I mentioned, now science has caught up with all this research that they have done, where, moringa now has become a big health food, consume. And we used to do that. It used to grow in our backyard. Drumsticks were available. Nobody used to buy drumsticks just 50, 60 years ago. It was available everywhere. People would carry drumsticks in their train. You would see all these little, green drumsticks sticking out of bags. And people would carry it with them on trains and as they traveled to, give it to neighbors and friends and family to share with them. So this is now a health food. So, and as all health foods go, just one thing doesn't help you promote your health. We should be consuming, a large variety of things. And our spice box used to be our, medicine box way back when. And like you said, food is our medicine. And in the Western world as well, this has been, we are lucky that this has been already blessed by the Western world as well, that food is medicine and let food be thy medicine. And that is what was actually the mindset in which the medical industry, the medical system was set up as well. But we moved away from nutrition. Today, there's no nutritional knowledge being passed on in the medical system, in the Western medical system, and that needs to change, because preventive medicine is where we need to focus on. We need to focus on preventing it before it occurs, because after it occurs, you have to follow certain procedures and what the modern medicine supports us. And there's been a huge shift in things like emergency medicine, in terms of helping. If you have a heart attack, they'll come to your rescue and revive you and keep things going for you. And emergency surgeries and things like that, stents and all these other things that open up blockages and stuff like that. But as you know, preventive and daily habits is the best thing. And our medicine cabinet should definitely be in a combination of food and our spice box. And if the more we can go back to these ancient remedies, I think we will all stand to benefit, definitely.
True. Many Indian households today, they rely on refined oils. There has been, so much of refined oil, so many brands and so many varieties. Can you just please enlighten us, what are the, effects of using too much of these refined oils?
Yes. Oil by itself is, I'll give you the view of what I've learned through my certification and that which I practice and I teach here. Oils are an extracted process. It's going through an industrialized process of extracting oil. We must understand this. It's a processed food. It's not available in nature. No other species consumes oil in its oil form. You take perfectly good fruits, vegetables, and grains, like for example, corn or peanuts, or here, in the West, it's something called canola oil. We really don't know what goes into this canola oil. But it's processed through an industrialized process. And you take perfectly good olives, for example, and the one thing that you remove out of it is the fat content. All other nutrients are lost, all other minerals are lost, everything else is lost from it, including the most important thing, which is the fiber. Fiber is really should be our friend, and how much fiber in fruits and vegetables are we consuming on a daily basis should be the measure. Not so much how much proteins are you consuming, not so much what are your carbs, simple carbs, complex carbs, this carbs, that carbs. Focus should be how much fiber we are consuming in its whole form, and that's what helps with our digestive system, and hence our whole entire system of, of our body, all the other systems as well. So as a result, we should really be focused on eating foods that are high in fiber, high in water content as well. That should be the focus, not so much on the other processed foods that we're talking about. And oil is definitely a totally 100% processed food. In India, when we used to extract oil, it used to be, what we call, terminology now is used, cold pressed, and the supply and the demand were kind of maintained in a balance. Now with these industrialized processes, the supply is way exceeds the demand, and then we store all these oils for long periods of time as well. So oils are not doing us any good in our bodies. Maybe a small amount of, cold pressed sesame oil or coconut oil, and it should really be not heating these oils to high temperatures, which we already knew. Coconut oil, for example, is not to be heated to high temperatures. We already knew this. So we should really bring in some of our ancient knowledge and our cultural knowledge in how to use these oils as well. But definitely this deep frying of foods, reusing of these oils, both these are equally bad. It doesn't really mean that if you're using fresh oil, it's good for you, because our arteries look at oil in a very different way. We should look at how our body responds to the foods that we consume, right? So if oils are damaging our arteries, and science has proven that they have done studies that even small amounts of oil really lead to damaged arteries, and it is the beginning signs of atherosclerosis or heart disease. And we are seeing this in young adults, in teenagers, people in their 20s, people in their 30s. So what used to be a grandparent's disease now has become a parent's disease, and now is becoming a young person's disease. So we really must take stock of what we are putting in our bodies and look at it in a holistic approach of what effect does it have in our bodies, rather than consuming large quantities of one thing or the other. Similarly with this oil, it's very inflammatory as well as damaging. Most important thing is it's damaging to our arteries. So if we have to do one thing to shift the needle on the leading cause of death across the world, which is heart disease, we must really be eating whole foods in good quantity, focusing on how much whole fiber that we are consuming, nourishing our bodies with fresh pranic foods, and really staying away from oils is what I would say. But definitely oils in very small quantities, because they are such a processed food. And this is something that you cannot process at home for the most part. You can't really extract. So that should be our rule of thumb. If you can make something at home, make it. And all these foods that are deep fried in oils, we used to consume very small quantities of them before. Now we have the ability to buy potato chips in a packet, just run scissors through it and eat it. But if you were to make the oil, grate the potatoes, and then make it at home, how often would you eat it? So it automatically limits your consumption of these foods, deep fried foods, and other foods processed in oils, if you were to make it on your own. So it's like, if you do your own fishing, yes, go ahead and eat the fish. But then this modern industrial style fishing of throwing huge big nets in the ocean and collecting all the fishes, we are collecting fishes that we eat and fishes that we don't eat. So there are a lot of species that are collected in these big trawlers and these big nets. So the same thing goes for all kinds of food as well. The supply and demand will automatically be controlled, if we were to focus on even all our fried foods, all our snacks that we so love, our pani puris, our bhujia, our chakli, kodbale, tengol, all these things that we used to make at home was controlled, because you are not going to make it every day at home. Whereas when you buy it from the store, it's just easy to run a scissors across and consume large quantities of these oily deep fried foods and salt and high sugar items. So these are addictive as well. So the one thing is about these oils, that they're very processed, and as you know, we can't process it and extract it at home. So we must be consuming in very, very small quantities. That is the takeaway. And definitely they attribute to uh, lesser arterial health. And it's not just heart disease, it affects all organs of our body, because our blood flow is the one that takes nutrients from the foods that we consume, from our mental health and well-being, from the water that we drink, to all parts of the body. And when arteries are damaged, it affects all parts of our bodies from head to toe. So this is the takeaway, that we should really be consuming very, very small quantities of oil, or no oil if possible.
That's a very, very important takeaway, Shobhaji. Thank you for sharing that. Now, this next question is especially for our youth and for our children. Now, in the last few decades, as we all have witnessed, that the habit of eating fast food, junk food, has really grown up. Now, if you can tell, and especially for the young people who would be listening this, what are the harmful effects of taking in this fast food or junk food or whatever we may call it, which is just out there and people go and just eat it?
Yeah. There are two things that are happening with this kind of food. Quick, easy, convenient foods called fast foods, easily available to us, but also certain foods that we think are healthy for us, but we order from outside. When this happens, we must understand the process in which food is prepared in these establishments. They are prepared for profit, they are running a business, and they want more customers. So their goal is to sell food to make money. Whereas our goal is to promote health in our bodies and put food in our bodies that are really nutritious, healthy, and have a balanced meal, so that it covers our entire gamut of the needs that we have in our body. So this must be really understood. Food is not just to satiate us or just put away hunger. These are the two reasons we are eating. Food is pleasurable because of the way it's made. For example, if you have fast food, for example, they don't put salt in it and they give it to you. You think that you're going to eat it the same way as with the food that had salt in it? No. You're going to eat not even half the quantity. Similarly, foods that have high amount of oil or high amount of sugar or a combination of these three hang out together and they love each other's company: salt, oil, and sugar. So the focus should be on our health, and definitely the convenience and availability of quick food from outside is very tempting, not just in our households, but it's universal. You want to use minimal amount of effort to get the maximum amount of gains in terms of food, as well as it is actually an act of pleasure as we eat. But we really must look at our food very differently. We mustn't really fall into this method of eating fast food, because like I mentioned, they are there to run a business so that they can reach more people and they can make a profitable business, whereas your interest is health. And as much as they may claim that their interest is health as well, it is really not feasible that they make healthy food like you do at home and make it delicious as well. But this is really possible, and now there are many uh, services that are producing food, maybe not fast food, but you can order the food that are following some of these principles and guidelines and providing healthy food alternatives to the fast food. So seeking after that is very important, and next best to eating at home and cooking your own food, because you know what ingredients went into the making of your food. Whereas when you order from outside, you have no control over what went into your food. And like we talked about this entire hour, we become what we eat. So we need to be cognizant of the fact, and we should know what are the ingredients that have gone into the making of my food, what all processed ingredients they're using, what colors, dyes, preservatives, all chemicals that they're using. All of this should be, known before we make these decisions. But I understand convenience and going out has become like a celebratory thing. Before, for our birthdays, our mothers used to make kheer or pedas or something like that, and we would go to the temple. We would thank Bhagavan that we have, lived a successful one more year, and to anticipate future years of health and well-being. But now we have ingrained into us that we have to go out somehow to celebrate, and that is really not the case at all. Have things at home that you can celebrate, and there are now meal options available in all of the major cities across India and in the US as well, and in all over the world as well, where you can eat more health promoting food, nutritious food, freshly cooked food, and those are all the focus, rather than just go out for the pleasure of taste. I know Swami Chinmayananda used to say that for 4-inch long tongue, how much dance and show we do, and how much effort we put in to get fast food or tasty food or anything like that. But so we must be really cognizant of the food that we put in our bodies that nourishes us, both mental, physical, and emotional. So fast food is really not the way to go, unless you in fact, I would really suggest that when you're tempted with fast food and you have the option, just fast. Just do fasting. That's a whole another topic of discussion, where we've lost our ability to fast, our ability to stay away from harmful foods when there is no food available. So there is not really if it's life and death situation, of course, it's very different. You can eat, anything that is available around us. But most part in these modern worlds, we are not living in feast and famine. We're always living on the feast side of things. We're never living on the famine side of things. So in order to instill some of the famine sides of natural cycle that our bodies used to go through, fasting is a very, very important thing. It has become a big science here in the Western world as well, where we have fasting clinics. My daughter volunteered at the fasting clinic after her first year of medical school, and where they teach you how to fast to overcome chronic, hard to treat diseases and illnesses. And who knows better about fasting than us? And then Langanam in Ayurveda has had very given great importance. Our Ekadashi fast used to be not just countrywide, all the way from Afghanistan to Bali, everybody used to fast. So it's not about just some people in the house fasting and following the principles of Ekadashi fasting, and others are eating, and so you have to cook, you have to make the food, you smell the food, and all of this. So when all of us align together as a community and promote periods of fasting as well, our body responds really well, our mental faculties reset, change, have better focus, and it's an amazing feeling. So a lot of us do the Navratri fasting, just water only fasting. So there are so many different types of fasting that you do. And we shouldn't really indulge in large quantities of food at the end of the evening when we fast. We should really be measured, observing, and consume in small quantities. So fasting is a very important thing that I would bring up here, that needs to be inculcated in our lives, especially when you have no other option but fast food or fried food or anything like that. Best thing to do is water only fasting. to stay away from it.
Some very, very important takeaways from all this that you're telling us, Shobhaji. Amazing. The harmful effects of the fast food, as you explained. I'm sure the young people who are listening here would now get a better perspective on that. The importance of fasting.
Mhm.
So amazing, it is, and I do that very regularly, and I can say that people should get into this practice of fasting. Some few very important things that are coming to my mind, like when and it has been there since generations. Whenever the food was cooked in our houses, the first chapati or the first morsel was taken out for cow, the second for the
Yes.
dog, the third for all the pashu pakshi, whatever. And then when it was served, there was a bhojan mantra. We used
Mm-hmm.
to offer that, and even before that,
Absolutely.
the food was taken to Thakurji for for as prasad, as
Bhog.
bhog.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
used to mix it back, and we used to have that prasad, and then before eating we used to have these bhojan mantra, and we used to
Exactly.
to pray, and then we used to start eating the food. So
Yeah.
such amazing practices we had, and the purpose of all this conversation is to bring back, rejuvenate those wonderful practices that we have had, for millennia.
Yes.
And the perspective that we had, about food, amazing things that you told, the importance of pranic food, how
Mm-hmm.
good it is, for our health, how important it is, to have to be conscious of what we are eating, how
Mm-hmm.
we are cooking, so important. And now I will move on to another role that you play in your life. You are also general secretary and co-founder of CoHNA,
Mm-hmm.
Coalition of Hindus in North America. Now I
Mm-hmm.
would like you to just touch upon that. When was CoHNA founded? What were the founding objectives,
Mm-hmm.
and what all you are doing there as in your role in CoHNA?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. CoHNA started in the basement of my home about 5 years ago, um, to fulfill a need. And what is that need? To to be bold and active Hindus. And what does that mean? To activate, to be, to advocate for ourselves about who we are, what is our culture, a better understanding of Hindu culture and tradition. That's how we started Kona, and that's one of our main goals is advocacy, where we stand up and talk about who we are, the contributions that Hindu Americans and Hindu Canadians have made to their respective countries and to the entire infrastructure here in USA and Canada. We also have three verticals where advocacy is our main focus and for a better understanding of Hindu culture and tradition. So, not only celebrate the contributions that we have made, but also bring the elected officials up to speed about what our needs are. Our temples are getting attacked. We are seeing genocides in parts of the world, such as Bangladesh, of Hindus and so on and so forth. So we want to for them to know that these are our needs. So we approach our lawmakers to really have an ask. What is the ask? The ask is some of these things to protect our temples, to protect our religious places of worship, to protect our culture and our heritage as well, and a better understanding of it so that people, the diaspora that we interact with, have a better understanding. Our children in schools have a better understanding of who Hindus are, not just have this understanding that Hindus are caste, cow and curry like Meera mentioned the other day, but to have a deeper understanding of what we bring for universal values, for our scientific ancient bodies of knowledge such as Ayurveda, such as yoga, such as, all this medical knowledge that we bring, and so many other knowledge systems that we have contributed to the world. So that is one. And the other verticals we have are Hindu Parents Network, where we bring awareness and education for K through 12 students, parents, teachers, and the administrative staff and the board of education, so that they have a better understanding of our culture, our tradition, and our traditional practices and our contributions to the world. And then a third vertical that we have is CoHNA Youth Action Network, where youth from 18 years to 35 years participate in advocacy as well as a better understanding of Hindu culture and tradition across campuses. And they play a very important role. Youth play a very important role in our advocacy efforts. And we have youth leaders who are fellows under the government relations program, where they advocate for Hindu Americans. Why should we be involved in this electoral process? What is the value of our vote? Why should we be at the table? If you're not at the table, you are the food at the table. Your narratives are going to be diminished. So we stand tall as Hindu Americans, and we want to pass on this legacy to our youth to have a strong identity as well, so that they can walk with pride, with their head on their shoulders, and say that they are, Hindus.
Amazing. And I must congratulate you, Shobhaji, and all the people at CoHNA, that what a great work you all are doing. I do follow you. Amazing work. And it's so important that this was done. And in a way, Prachyam is also doing the same thing. We are also trying to bring about this awareness, work towards the rejuvenation of our great culture, of preservation of our knowledge systems, traditions, and Rishi Parampara, and to put forth the true narrative of Bharat, because this is what the others have done. They have distorted our narratives. They have misrepresented. They have appropriated our knowledge, but never acknowledged us.
Absolutely.
So I thought, and this is why I came back to Bharat. And I thought, this should be done. And being a filmmaker, I thought, what better can be a way than making world-class films and putting forth, the true narrative of Bharat on the face of the world, and also counter, the false narratives. So at Prachyam, we have made, more than 500 films, shows, series, content, all on various aspects of Bharat. And, we all have to come together to keep on doing this. It's very, very important, because Hindu phobia is going up by the day.
Absolutely.
And unless we all come together, we stand up and we fight against it, and we put this down, they are not going to stop. And I'm sure with people like you, with people like, the people at CoHNA, and, the youth like Meera, I interviewed on Saturday, I'm so confident, I'm so sure that we all will be able to achieve our goals, our objectives. So, Shobhaji, as we conclude, I would like to ask you, what is your message to people who want to reconnect with their health, with their traditions, with their ancient wisdom of not only Indian kitchen, but of all the aspects of life?
Absolutely. So I was born and brought up in Bharat as well. So the culture, our ancient indigenous civilization, and our knowledge systems are dear to us. We have lost it over a long period of time, but like Prachyam is doing amazing work, we all have to come together to uphold this and to create the new narrative. We have been invaded and colonized for more than 1,000 years. So it's time to change the narrative about who we are and what we bring to the table, and stand tall and proud, and not get beaten with the stick of all the false narratives that they peddle. That is the first and foremost thing. And prepare our next generation for being strong, active, bold, Hindus. And for that, we must focus on, how we bring up our children with our little samskars that we do every day, and instill in them our view of Bhagavan, our view of the world, our view of the Jagat, on how we interact with it. All of this should be instilled from a very young age, and that is where we should start our work. And we really are very thankful to Prachyam for all that you have done and all that you're doing and continue to do. We look forward to collaborations going forward. And with regards to food and health and lifestyle that we lead, I really definitely want to conclude that we should really connect with nature, as close to nature as possible. Nature is our Bhagavan. We revere all sentient and insentient things. That is why Parvat is also, we do prayers to, we do puja to, a tree. All of this is because we look at the whole Jagat, the world, in a reverential, sacred, that which is provided to us, not something to take advantage of. That which is provided to us, and prasada buddhi. So focus on your health, mental health, physical health, emotional, your spiritual connections, relationships, all of these put together. And then support both Prachyam, support CoHNA in any way you possibly can. We are looking for volunteers. We are looking for, donors, because as you know, all of this work that you do at Prachyam, all of the work that we do, consumes a lot of resources in the form of money. So donors are very welcome as well. Volunteers are welcome. We have about 200 people volunteering for us at different levels. And we are a grassroots level organization. And that sets us apart from other advocacy organizations because we have chapters all across the US. We have about 8 or 10 chapters in the United States and about 6 chapters in Canada. So come support us, become part of us, and let us support this initiative of good health and a strong Hindu. And I live this every day in my daily life and espouse this and promote this as much as I can. All the other priorities have fallen off, and these are the 2 things that I am focused upon.
Amazing. And I ditto the same thing, Shobhaji, to all the viewers who are watching it live from North America or who would be watching it later on through, our YouTube channel or our OTT or through, shorts and reels that we'll be putting out. I request all of you that CoHNA is doing an amazing work. Please come forward and support them in every way that you can. Volunteer for them, donate to them, and same goes for Prachyam. We need your support is our strength. It is not easy to commit your life, to such a cause, and we strongly feel that we have been made nimitt in this cause. We are divinely inspired, and this had to be done now, and we should do the best that can be done without losing any more time. So this is a request from Prachyam to everyone. Do support CoHNA. And Shobhaji, we are going to take a very short break now. And there are scores of questions. I know it has been long, but the conversation has been so amazing, with you that we just didn't realize that how much time has gone by. But we are going to come back for a short session with some of the questions because I can't ask all the questions. There's so many of them, but we will, moderate and we put some questions for you from the audience which has joined globally. We'll come back very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Prachyam is about dedicating to revive our rich cultural heritage, the essence of Bharat. We are bringing to life the echoes of our glorious past.
We need organizations like Prachyam.
It is old as well as the new rise.
प्राच्यम हिंदू के गौरव की गाथा गाता है।
60 साल में हमने जो खोया विरासत के रूप में, संस्कृति के रूप में, उसको वापस लाने का काम कर रहे हैं।
Our mission goes beyond creating content. We are sparking a cultural renaissance.
प्राच्यम एक उत्तिष्ठत का नाद है।
हिंदू समाज में जोड़ने के लिए और सच्चाई दिखाने का काम प्राच्यम द्वारा हो रहा है।
कई दशकों की एक आवश्यकता को प्राच्यम पूरा कर रहा है।
Prachyam is putting out is an urgent civilization imperative.
गुलामी की मानसिकता अगर कहीं पर भी अंदर धसी हुई हो ना, उसको उखाड़ फेंकने का काम प्राच्यम का कंटेंट करता है.
Launching the world's first Hindu OTT platform is just the beginning. We have much more to achieve.
पूरा जन जन सत्य से, तथ्य से और यथार्थ से परिचित होगा.
आपका ये प्रयत्न ईश्वर की आराधना ही है.
काउंटर नैरेटिव का आंदोलन आरंभ हो चुका है.
Prachyam is doing an excellent job to give you knowledge which you don't get in school.
I absolutely love it.
I'm very happy to be a part of the Prachyam family.
I extend my best wishes to you and your entire team.
एक बहुत बड़ी सनातन की सेवा हो रही है. उसके लिए मैं हृदय से प्राच्यम का अभिनंदन करता हूँ.
Your support can turn this vision into reality.
प्राच्यम
Prachyam is doing a very, very good job.
We Sanatanis need प्राच्यम.
People are going back to their roots.
It's important for our country.
Arm yourself with the knowledge. It's almost like a movement.
This is a visionary endeavor.
प्राच्यम को सफलता के लिए साधुवाद.
Amazing job.
Strongly recommend do your contribution.
Support them, subscribe them.
By donating to Prachyam, you are just not giving. You are investing in our culture, our future, and our children.
Reaching out to the people with the results of the research, I wish them all the very best.
Join us on this journey. Donate today and become part of a timeless legacy.
Welcome back.
All the different directions I need to do, all this technology and all, I didn't.
Shobha ji. Yeah, welcome back. So I'll be putting, there's some, some noise, coming from.
1 second. Please, can you all be quiet if you don't mind? Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to put questions on the screen now. And here's the first question you have on the screen. Can you please read it out and tell us the answer?
Okay. This is a small screen. Hold on. Let me screen big. Yeah. What is the biggest myth people have about plant-based or Sattvik eating? The myth people have about plant-based or Sattvik eating is that we won't get all our nutrients from just plants, that we have to eat this or that kind of food or certain animal foods to get a holistic input of all the nutrients. But this is not really true. We can get, all the essential nutrients that we need. We can definitely get from Sattvik and plant-based food for sure.
Thank you. There's another question.
Is a keto diet good enough? So, keto diet probably is only good for very short periods of time. Long processes of keto and the very fact that it is a diet is really problemsome, because our minds think that we are on a diet, but a whole food plant-based lifestyle and eating is just in accordance with nature. Eat what nature grows, eat locally, eat seasonally, and eat plenty. That is what we should be following, and not any of these diets, either keto or any of these others. How much of our health is determined by genetic versus our food and lifestyle choices? Very good question, because we think that more than 50 or more than 50% is based on our genetics and we have no control over it. So we give up all responsibility. But that's really not the case. Very small single digit percentages are attributed to genetics and all the things that we inherit. We accentuate some of the problems that we may have inherit genetically with the lifestyle that we lead. And that is why the focus is, and that is why families have similar diseases, is because of the lifestyle that they're leading. What was not very pronounced in our grandparents and other ages is now being pronounced because we are activating those genes by feeding it with these kind of foods, and what we put through our lips and what we eat through our food is it definitely accentuates um, all of these diseases that we may inherit. Very small percentage, just 5 to 6%. Yeah. So there is a saying, though quite a violent saying, that the genetics load the gun, but you pull the trigger. So you're enabling it. You are literally, what I say is, in more gentle terms, you are fertilizing it. You may have some genetics for diabetes or heart disease or cancer or blood pressure or cholesterol, any of this, but you are pouring fertilizer on it by the kind of foods that you're eating. So eat closest to nature, eat what nature produced, and eat enough fruits and vegetables. The focus is.
Here's the next
Can
question.
lifestyle diseases like diabetes, hypertension, obesity actually be reversed significantly through diet? Absolutely. There are several studies all across the major publications, medical publications, and scientific studies that have proven time and again that a plant-based lifestyle, a plant-based diet, and a plant-based lifestyle, a plant-based nutrition plan. I don't really want to call it a diet, because a diet is something you get into and you're waiting when you're going to get out of it. But this is not the process. When you live a plant-based holistic lifestyle, you incorporate things that are in addition to food. And definitely food is one of the biggest factors for these lifestyle diseases. And 100% we have a lot of studies and a lot of publications. And there are many, many doctors in India that I am connected with that are following this for their patients and seeing amazing results as well. So yes,
Amazing.
everything can be reversed.
Here's the
If
next
someone
question.
wants to completely transform their health over the next 1 year, what are the top 5 lifestyle changes you would recommend? Amazing. Good question this is. What are the top 5 things? First, food. Food that is nutrition, food that nurtures your body. So food has grown closest to nature, minimally processed, avoid all processed and ultra processed food. So food is number 1. Then your mental well-being. You know that the stresses, mental stresses and the strain that you put your mind and body through, very, very important to address. And we have so many wonderful tools in our toolbox, pranayama, meditation, fasting, so many of these things for mental health. Then dhyana, all of this. And the third thing is physical movement. We are a species just like all other species. You'll see that the elephant, the zebras, the camels, everything in nature walks long periods of time on a daily basis. We have moved away from it. We are leading very, very sedentary lives, and that's an important part. It's called the sitting disease. We wake up in the morning, we sit on a sofa or a chair or a stool, and then we go to work in a car, we sit in the train or bus or car, and then, or even in our two-wheelers. So we sit everywhere. So it's called, the new sitting disease is equivalent of the smoking disease. So just imagine, the impact is that much on our physical body. That's what that means. So movement is very important. Walk, connect with nature, that is very important both for mind and body. And then sleep. Get really good sleep in terms of quality sleep, focus on, resting the body, resting the mind, all of this, because a lot of repair takes place, a lot of rejuvenation takes place during your sleep cycle. So focus on that. And then relationships and spirituality and maintaining good habits. This could be the fifth one. These are the pillars of lifestyle medicine that I teach as well, that aligns with our ancient traditions and culture beautifully. So we're not at loggerheads with any of this. And the science, I say, has now caught up with our ancient wisdom. So these are the 5 things that I would recommend.
Wonderful. Shobhaji, can you just come in the center of the frame, just, yeah.
Yeah,
so that
above
you're
the
visible,
questions
to
at the
all.
bottom.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so the next question I'm just going to put is, one second. Here it is.
Ancient Indian traditions recommend seasonal eating. Is modern nutrition rediscovering the same principle? To some extent, we also promote that eat in season. What is available at the grocery stores, eat those. What's on sale, we tell them, is what's growing in plenty and in abundance in the farms and the orchards. So that's what we should be eating. Yes, we are recommending the same, eat seasonal and avoid, that which is out of season. Definitely. Should governments encourage traditional whole food diets as a public health strategy instead of relying primarily on medicines? Yes, absolutely. We don't spend enough time, energy, and money and resources on preventive care. The multi-trillion dollar budget that we have in the United States for health, very small percentage, a single digit percentage, is set aside for preventive care. And that's where our focus should be, to prevent all these metabolic illnesses and illnesses that we are seeing that are quite rampant in our communities, to reverse this, and most importantly, to prevent it. So plant-based nutrition and holistic lifestyle not only prevents it, but those of us who have it, we can reverse it as well. So please understand that this is really true, and that's when you can open your mind to following a lifestyle that will help you achieve this goal. अगर कोई ऑफिस गोइंग प्रोफेशनल को जिसके पास कुकिंग का टाइम नहीं है, तो वो सात्विक क्लासेस कैसे स्टार्ट करे? Good question. I think it's a life skill. Everybody should learn how to cook, and cook fresh, quick, small meals. So you don't have to cook in large quantities. You have to cook very little, chop very little, but planning ahead is very important. And like for everything that we talk about in our ancient culture and tradition, the sankalpa is the first step. So take that sankalp, put it into your mindset, and it will happen slowly but surely. And it may take a year, it may take 2 years. That's absolutely fine. Get started, and it's everything sankalp se siddhi. So slowly start with the sankalpa, and all other forces, Bhagavan will provide all the other tools for you to come ahead. Processed food kitna harmful hai? Kya occasional junk food really matters? Definitely. The body doesn't look at things like ये occasional है, इसको ऐसे treat करेंगे. So the body is looking at food in a specific way, and the foods that really harm your arteries, affect your balance, your hormonal balance, as well as all other systems that the body tries to balance, we must really focus on, so that the nutrition that we consume goes to every cell of our body. So yes, processed foods are very harmful, and those of us who don't have any issues maybe can eat some of these once a year, maybe for your birthday, or maybe for your anniversary or something special occasion, save it for. But no, it cannot be a monthly, weekly, daily thing at all, which we have all learned. Subah chai starts with nashta. No, 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 at all. The body is looking at everything it either is causing harm in your bodies or it's promoting health. So processed food should really be, and if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. That's what one of our leaders in our industry, Chef AJ, that's what she mentions, that if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. You will not go out of your way to go get nashta or bhujia or something deep fried and then sit down and then have your chai. But if it's already at home, it's definitely in your mouth. So your environment, you need to make sure that you observe what you are stocking in your environment to be able to promote a whole unprocessed lifestyle as well. Yes. Vitamin B12, iron, omega-3, vitamin D, these are often raised as concerns. How should people think about these nutrients? Definitely consult with your doctor, run the tests that you need. And this I would defer to what the doctors tell you in terms of their research and what their numbers should be and so on and so forth. But focus on eating whole food, plant-based, fresh food like we talked about. And it should take care of many of the nutrients. Some you may need to supplement, but only supplement exactly those that you need. There's no need to take an all-around supplement that has all different things in it. The body doesn't absorb the nutrients that way. Body absorbs in its whole form with the fiber, with all other nutrients combined. Please keep that in mind. Yes. Next question, please. प्रोटीन को लेकर सबसे ज्यादा डिबेट होती है. हाँ जी. Can a plant-based sattvic diet provide enough protein? Definitely. There have been lots of studies, and actually think about it. The original source of protein is plant-based. Where do animals get their proteins? Where do animals get their calcium? Where do animals get their omega-3? Ask yourself this. Where do cows get protein? They don't make protein. They're not protein factories. So they get their proteins from just blades of grass. Horses that are so strong, horsepower is named after them, right? They have endurance. They run long distances. Where do they get their proteins from? We are also, our digestive system, our teeth, and the structure of our jaw is 100% herbivorous. Look at your teeth, then look at the teeth of a cow, the whole set, and that of a horse. You will definitely see that it's very, very similar. So we are an herbivorous animal. We flourish with plant-based food, and plant-based proteins are plenty, even for ultra marathoners, even for athletes, even for Olympic level athletes, and cricketers, all sports. You can find that you will get enough proteins. Our focus should be more on, are we eating enough fruits and vegetables? Are we getting enough fiber? Not so much how much proteins we need, because proteins really don't build magic muscles. Then everybody would be really muscular and we would all be Arnold Schwarzenegger, but that's not true. Proteins are not. What really builds muscles is strength training. Your own body strength training through practices like yoga and yogasanas and all of that, or through small weights and other things that you can, because of the lifestyle that we live. If we were chakki piecing, if we are making our own idli batter, if we were making our own powders at home with seal batta piecing, we would be fine. We don't need strength training. But in this modern world and sedentary lifestyle, we need these artificial weights that we can lift and exercise our shoulders and our back and all these muscles. So keep in mind that it's lifestyle. So yogasana would go very well with our ancient lifestyle that we led. And now you may have to supplement it a little bit with, only you can also focus and do body strength training, but don't have to worry about proteins. And there's a very good documentary called The Game Changers I'd like to introduce to you, that you can watch, where it's made up of all the athletes and how they thrive on plant-based food and what they do to promote strength, endurance, flexibility, and balance as well. Yes.
Amazing.
Ultra processed foods are becoming global epidemic. Is this the biggest health challenge of our generation? Definitely. Definitely. These large corporations that are passing things off as food. Ultra processed foods shouldn't be called foods. They should be called food like substances. So when we start naming things right, just like how we are, changing the narrative both with Prachyam and with CoHNA, you will start making an understanding, and you will start building an understanding, and you will start promoting the right lifestyle for yourself. So ultra processed foods are not food. They are just food like substances that harm your entire body and your well-being as well. That should really be avoided. Again, instead of saying what to avoid, we should focus on be in sync with nature. That is the takeaway. And yes, it's the biggest health challenge, especially for our youth, that can buy. And even I have seen in small towns and villages in India, you have these long packets of plastic food. If you see these little, what we call in Tamil pottikades, you'll have long strings of all these things. So please avoid, please, don't indulge in these foods. And they're very addictive. The salt, the oil, and the sugar in processed foods are known to be very addictive. And this process, the psychology of why we like these foods is also very important to look into. But just observe your body, how you feel when you eat these things as well. Very important to observe. Yes. One plant-based food for controlling diabetes. No, there is no magic pill. It's daily habits, little at a time, over a long period of time. Just like we brush our teeth every single morning, nobody has to tell you, go brush your teeth. We need to inculcate these habits that become part of our day, that become part of our psyche, our psychology, and that we value. Everybody knows yoga is good for our mental, physical, emotional well-being. How many of us are doing it? The yogasanas, the pranayama, the dhyana. If we can take out 15 minutes, half an hour, we can really come up ahead. But that's not the case. So, one plant-based food for controlling diabetes, there's no magic pill, unfortunately. You have to have daily inculcated habits of, again, in sync with nature. Be closest to nature. Eat whole foods, plant-based. You'll get all your nutrients and you'll energize your body this way, and then follow all the other modalities that we mentioned: yogasana, pranayam, dhyana, relationships, and maintain mental health. Study the Bhagavad Gita on a daily basis. It'll help you all towards just not diabetes, but everything else as well.
Sure.
क्या आप घर में मिलेट्स, श्री अन्ना या सिरी धान्या, घी या सीजनल फूड्स का इस्तेमाल करते हैं? सीजनल फूड्स, हाँ, सीजनल फूड्स एज इन फ्रूट्स एंड वेजिटेबल्स फॉर श्योर, हाँ. और डेफिनेटली मिलेट्स यूज करती हूँ. And we make, millet khichdi, millet upma, millet rava idli. There are so many different choices that you can make in terms of food. And the good part is not to combine different millets and different grains all in one. Soak them overnight and cook them separately. So, and consume them separately. So all this multi-grain, multi-combos are not good for our health at all. We shouldn't be doing that. Our body looks at things very differently. We should look at it from the inside out in terms of how our body is viewing it. ब्रेकफास्ट में आइडियल सात्विक प्लेट कैसे होनी चाहिए? Just like we mentioned now, breakfast may you can have upma, but make sure it's loaded with lots of vegetables. And make sure you cook your vegetables, but ever so gently. That is another important thing that for our Indian cooking that I really want to emphasize, that vegetables should be just kacha paka. ऐसे नहीं करना कि ये mushy हो गया and like baby food. Definitely, we shouldn't be eating overcooked vegetables. So this is a very good point that I want to bring up. But breakfast में आप पोहा खाएं, उपमा खाएं, millet उपमा, idli, chutney, sambar. But make sure that the sambar is loaded with vegetables. So everything you do and eat, make sure it's loaded with vegetables. Because vegetables have a lot of, they are fresh. Whereas your grains, are stored. So they bring a whole bunch of phytonutrients and bring energy to your bodies as well. So make sure that all the nutrients are loaded in vegetables, and all vegetables. ऐसे नहीं कि potato खाने से हमको we will become fat. This is really not true. But if you buy potatoes and make potato chips and eat it, हाँ. और तल के खाएंगे तो हाँ. But potato by itself is not the culprit. It is the other things that you're doing to it and all other foods as well. So enjoy your food, make it delicious, and be joyous about the fact that you're eating this way. अरे ऐसे भी खाना है, ऐसे करके नहीं खाना है. Huh? And you're waiting to get off of it. Like I mentioned, it's not a diet. It should be a lifestyle. Just like everything else. Just like we put in good habits for overall well-being. Like you mentioned, Praveerji, that you're now drinking water and you take some time out for yourself before the busy day begins to do yogasana, to do a little bit of pranayam. And we have abridged versions when we are tight on time, and we have regular versions where we do on a daily basis. So be able to wax and wane like this, but don't give it up, because small habits today have a large impact tomorrow, like everything else. Today, one day when you do pranayam or dhyan, you are not going to, come out as as something really great or big, but small habits over a long period of time is the most important. So breakfast, अपना Indian breakfast ही सबसे अच्छा है. So stick to it.
Absolutely.
Vitamin B12 कहाँ से मिलेगा veg diet पे? So this is a very interesting concept that we think that we have to get our nutrients from something. Nature provides everything for us. We must just trust the process and revel in the process and respect the process. So vitamin B12 also typically comes from nature, from the soil. But now our soil has been treated so much with pesticides, insecticides, fertilizer. So degradation of soil is a very big concern. And that is why we are not getting vitamin B12, not because we are veg or non-veg. How does a cow get its vitamin B12? If we are going to get vitamins from meat or chicken, or how does the chicken get its vitamin B12? That's where we should be going. But in cases like this, where we don't have enough vitamin D or vitamin B12, refer to your doctor, find out what they say, how much you need to take, how long you need to take, what your numbers should be, and follow their guidelines. My daughter is overweight. Can you suggest something? Absolutely. One thing I would suggest that would be a game changer: eat more vegetables. Have it in, have small amount of khichdi, 2-3 tablespoons, maybe moong dal or, khichdi even, and a large bowl of vegetables. Vegetables satiate us, fill us up, and we don't feel like we are depriving ourselves of food or going empty stomach, but they carry very small number of calories that will, keep you energized as well as help you lose weight. This is the one trick pony for weight loss and weight control is this. And of course, processed foods is the very main thing that we need to look at, but eating more vegetables and eating more fruits. This is what I would say is going to set you up for success in all families. So have a big bowl of this, just a watery khichdi or dal ka soup type of thing with lots of vegetables in it. and make it flavorful. ऐसे नहीं कि you have to eat boiled vegetables and say, oh my goodness, बच्चे बैठेंगे and they'll say, oh हमको ये खाना है. And even we will not relish it, right? So make it flavorful. Add all the things from our spice box. Add the panchpuran, add the ginger, the turmeric, the green chilies, make it flavorful, the lemon, to kadi patta, all these things that add flavor and that we associate with good, healthy food and nutritious food, make it delicious, make it healthy, and eat it in a joyous way. Be happy and joyous about it and focus on making it that. Everybody and the family should help. When the family comes together, they will definitely benefit. Many fad diets become popular every few years. Why has the traditional Indian dietary wisdom survived for thousands of years? So, to this, I would say the dietary Indian system of wisdom, we love our food, right? All Indians love our own food. And we are now noticing that the entire world loves our food. Every non-Indian we meet will tell us how much they like this curry or this chicken or this dish at the Indian restaurant, and people frequent Indian restaurants all over the world. So, but why still we have the same rates of heart disease, same rates of diabetes, similar rates of cancer as the Western countries? Why? Because we've moved away from our traditional wisdom. And that Prachyam and channels such as this will guide us through how we can get back to our roots, rediscover our roots, and follow our ancient wisdom, because we're not following it. That's why we've fallen off the wagon. And, the reasons are aplenty, but now is the time to come together and promote this. Our ancient Indic wisdom has all the knowledge that we need for healthy and balanced living.
Amazing. Some very precious words of wisdom shared by you, Shobhaji, tonight on our show, Unfiltered with Prachyam. There are so many questions. They will keep on coming, but it has been really long. I can't thank you enough how much I enjoyed personally this conversation, how informational and how educational, how enlightening it was for me. And I'm sure it would be same for our audience as well. Thank you so much for coming, sparing time, for coming on our show. And I think just to keep people reminded and keep them rooted in their ancient traditions and wisdom, I think we should meet once in a while, a bit more often, and have such wonderful, amazing discussions, and let people know about your original perspective from your experience and the great training and education that you have taken. Thank you once again for coming on our show.
Thank you. Thank you, Praveenji, and thanks to the entire Prachyam team. You are doing a wonderful job, and we wish to support you and promote the channel as well. So more people build awareness and education about who we are as a people, our civilization, our culture, our food, our way of life and living, which is being adopted the world over. This is a sudden, especially post-COVID, sudden surge of people wanting to regenerate their health, their mental well-being. And they know in our ancient practices lasted the wisdom, was packaged the wisdom of life, living, and purposeful living. So thank you very much for that. And visit my channel, which is Annapurna Holistic Lifestyle. And we are starting a new initiative coming this August online, which follows these 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine and promotes a holistic approach to life, well-being, and health. So thank you very much, Praveenji, and to the entire Prachyam team. My namaskar.
Thank you. Namaskar.
प्राच्यम का जो प्रयास है बहुत गौरव जगाने वाला है। 60 साल में हमने जो खोया उसको वापस लाने का काम कर रहे हैं।
Prachyam is doing an amazing job.
प्राच्यम का जो पुरुषार्थ है घर घर पहुंचे।
ऐसे अप्रतिम पुरुषार्थ के लिए मेरी अनंत शुभकामनाएं हैं।
Prachyam is doing an excellent job to give you knowledge which you don't get in school.